Hi guys, Steph here. This is my second Star Wars video I'm making today. Again, I'll let you know there's a big windy windstorm happening around my house and it's kind of loud, so if you hear some interference, that's probably what you're hearing. I don't have the best quality sound equipment anyway, but if we're picking up some of that, that's why. As I said in my Obi-Wan Kenobi video, if you're watching this video, I sure do appreciate you watching. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel a little bit, so if you're watching, please click subscribe. If you like this video, click like, and I really appreciate all of your support. So I want to talk about the show Andor, which after watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, I was kind of ready to give up on the new Disney Star Wars properties altogether. But I heard such good things about Andor that I decided to give it a chance, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. The pacing, especially at first, is a little bit slower than some Star Wars shows and properties, but I didn't really mind because the acting and the writing were so good and so compelling. There isn't a ton of like action, shoot 'em up stuff in the first couple of episodes, but they do, because I think they're taking the time to kind of build the story and the characters a little bit before the action starts, and I really liked that. So these are the things that I really enjoyed about the show. I think the casting is fantastic. Diego Luna, of course, is excellent as the title character, Cassian Andor. I feel like the rest of the cast is really, really good as well, but Luna really shines in this. And I remember him standing out in Rogue One as well. And I think having him be the focus of this show was a great choice. They could really have gone with anyone from that film, but I think they made the right choice. And as Star Wars often does, this show, Andor, had a few familiar actors, including Andy Serkis and Stellan Skarsgård, and then they also had a whole bunch of lesser-known actors, and I like that they do that. I like that since the beginning of Star Wars, that's kind of what they've done. I'm not going to name all of them, but the supporting cast, I think, are just as strong as the leads. Everybody in this was really well cast. I didn't have any real complaints about the acting in this show, and that's saying something because, you know, you don't always get everybody who's cast in the show being on the same level. So I think they did a good job. I think they nailed the casting, and the writing was really good too. Another thing that I really enjoyed, like this was probably my favorite thing about the show, was seeing kind of behind the scenes with the Empire more than we usually do. There are some other Star Wars properties that at least now, and like I said in my Kenobi video, I haven't read any of the books, so there's probably a lot more of this in the books, but I wouldn't know. But there are a few other movies and shows that do some minor exploration of the Empire. But I thought this was really fun because the audience got to really see some of the political maneuvering and backstabbing, and we got to know a handful of like the zealot believers who are fully invested in the cause of the Empire. And there were some characters who were like basically undercover agents, and I think that was one of the best things about this show, was watching members of the Empire beyond just a few meetings and shootouts with the good guys. I think the writers really wanted us to get to know some of the people behind the evil, and it was really effective. Especially strong are there were a couple, you know, real standouts. I think Denise Goff, I'm not sure how you say her last name, as Deirdre Miro. This character is unquestionably evil. She's a true believer in the Empire, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to gain power and to smash the rebellion. She was amazing. She was just fantastic in this show. You believed her 100%. And what fun for that actress to get to play this just despicable character. She's strong and she's fearless, and like she goes up against some competitors, and like she's really, really good. Another standout is Deputy Inspector Cyril Karn, who is played by Kyle Soller. Again, I don't know how you say your name, sorry. I think he's an interesting character too. He's a really zealous believer. And then we also get to see some of his personal life. He's got mommy issues, and maybe he's a little bit of a sociopath, which of course makes him the perfect Empire drone. The audience learns quite a bit more about Karn's life than we do about Miro's. Although maybe they'll flesh her out a little bit more in the second season. We didn't see a lot of her personal life. Her scenes were mostly involving, you know, the politics and things like that. Also, Ben Bailey Smith, whose stage name is sometimes Doc Brown. He's like an actor and a rapper and comedian. He's excellent also as Miro's competitor for power and prestige in the Empire. They kind of go up against each other on some issues, and I thought he was great. And it was fun to see him. The only other place I've seen him before was on the British game show Taskmaster, and he was really fun on that too. Okay, so next, although I feel like some people have said that this doesn't feel as much like a typical Star Wars show, I really enjoyed the Star Wars stuff. I liked that the ships that they used made sense for the era in which it is set, like TIE fighters and Star Destroyers. And then there are a few newer models and like different models of ships. But they all fit really well. It all makes sense. It isn't like there was some weird time jump and now there are things that shouldn't be there. They did a really good job with that, I think, with the sets and the props and all of that stuff. Personally, I think this show matches The Mandalorian for being a great Star Wars show that steps away from the norms of the franchise and gives us something completely new. As I said before, I think the writing was excellent. I like the plot a lot. I liked that it shifted Cassian Andor's goals from like one thing to another. You'd have a couple of episodes about one thing and then something would happen to him that perpetuates a new goal for him, and I think that was great. And they balanced weaving multiple plot lines together really well. We first see Andor looking for his sister, like in the first episode. He's held up and stopped by a couple of Imperial guards, and then he ends up having to kill them to get away, and he's running for his life. And this sets Cyril Karn hunting for him, although it takes him a little while to learn the identity of Andor, of his nemesis, of the man he's hunting. I think it's really interesting to watch Mon Mothma working toward her goals and the rebels slowly starting to build the alliance. This is pretty early in the days of the alliance. It's not really formed yet. They're just kind of starting to pull in people and involve people and do these missions to try and disrupt the Empire. And there are some really great scenes, some exciting things that they come up with and do. And I feel like the various troubles that Cassian finds himself in throughout the 12 episodes of this show worked really well for his character. So this might be a spoiler if you haven't seen the show. But if you haven't seen the show, you need to watch it. So I'm just going to tell you. He spends some time on this like tourist planet. It's got a beach and stuff. And he ends up getting arrested. And what happened to him really shows the audience how evil and crazy the Empire is. As they're building their power, it's not a republic. It's not a democracy. It is very much just all about power. All he did was walk past a guard while some other guys were being chased. He didn't do anything wrong, but the guard stops him and arrests him, and he can't like talk his way out of it. And it's kind of freaky to imagine living in a place like that. And then he goes to, court, but it's not really court. No one being interrogated or sentenced had any kind of defense representation, and they don't even get to answer, like they don't even get to explain the situation to the judge. She's just sentencing each of them for whatever. So he gets sentenced to 6 years of hard labor, and he's sent to this planet where they like manufacture, I'm not sure exactly what, but stuff for the Empire. And of course the audience knows he's going to figure his way out of the situation because the show is named Andor after all. But I really enjoyed watching this unfold. I thought it was great. And the way it's written is so compelling that you just want to keep watching and find out what he does. There are a few Senate meetings in the huge arena where everyone stands or sits on those giant round discs, which you see in the prequel movies, but they are blessedly short. And they're used primarily to illustrate Mon Mothma's frustration as she tries to do some good as a senator. She's opposed to some of the policies of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, but she's rarely listened to by anybody else in power. She just doesn't seem able to make a difference. We don't see Palpatine, which I'm fine with. I don't think we need to. I really liked Mon Mothma. I think she was really well written and acted, and it's really cool to watch somebody with that much money and power working to build the Rebel Alliance in secret. And that shouldn't be a spoiler if you remember her from, the earlier movies. Something that I found amusing about the show is that there are people and alien characters that are all mixed together, and they have this variety of Earth accents. There's like British and Scottish and Spanish, American. Luna, of course, is Mexican. His character is supposed to have come from this scrappy little colony on a planet called Canary. And when he was a child, he was rescued and taken to Ferrix by Marva Andor, and she ends up adopting him and raising him. And Marva is played by Irish actress Fiona Shaw, who is most well known for playing Petunia Dursley in the Harry Potter movies. So there's this wide variety of accents, which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't really mind it. I just thought it was kind of funny that as is typical with Star Wars properties, it's just never explained. So we just kind of roll with it. But it's funny that they're all mixed together as though, there aren't communities of people with the same accents, which is kind of how it works on Earth anyway. But it's fine. I'm not complaining about that. I just thought it was kind of fun. Some of my family members liked The Mandalorian a bit more than they liked Andor. And I might agree, except that season 2 of The Mandalorian kind of disappointed me. In spite of the addition of Timothy Olyphant, I felt like season 2 was kind of disjointed, and there were a lot of episodes that didn't really add anything to the overall plot. I haven't done a review of that show because it's been a while since I watched it, but I do think season 1 of Andor is as good as season 1 of The Mandalorian. And I hope season 2 will be too. They are making season 2. And Diego Luna wisely has made it clear that he's going to finish season 2 and then he'll be done playing Cassian Andor. He was asked about a prequel and he said no way would he do it because he's not getting any younger. And they would have to cast someone else to play the character if they wanted to go even further back in time, which I think is a funny question to even ask because Andor is a prequel. So do we need a prequelception? Another couple of funny things. So this is not everyone would even catch this, but there are 2 things in this show that reminded me of The Wheel of Time, which is one of my favorite book series. I'm not going to talk about that show. But Andor is a place in the Wheel of Time with a queen, and like it's a country. And there's a character named Perrin in both the Wheel of Time and in the TV show Andor, which I thought was just kind of funny. Probably not a reference, probably not intentional, but it just made me chuckle that there were 2 sort of references to the Wheel of Time. But so I do recommend you watch Andor. I think it was really good. It's on Disney Plus. If you're a Star Wars fan, I think you'd probably like it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. My husband couldn't get into it. He didn't like the slow pace. But I did. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you will too. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, click like and all of that YouTube stuff. I really do appreciate your support, and I will see you in the next video.